Hello. Good morning. Morning, Chen. Good morning, Foreign Wanderer. Yes, you were first. Hey, good morning, Jenna. How are you? Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Belkut. You're dying? Hey, good morning, SCP Alpha and Chimney Stacks. I'm sorry that you're dying, Jenna. Hey, good morning, MCAT. Hash Brown Swag. Formula Q1. Hey, good morning, Abhinav. Couldn't really see my team on UB Learns. Hey, I just fixed that. For the graduate students, I accidentally didn't have the groups visible yet. Phil took 2 youth hunters out this weekend, got them both a limit of geese. Nicely done. Hey, good morning, Plammer. What's the limit of geese? Hey, Cross Dog. Good morning, Bills 4-0. That's right. They beat the Raiders, am I right? Johnsta says, go Bills, go Bills. Nathan says, go Bills. Aren't we like number 1? F yeah! Oh, that's awesome for the kids. Yeah, Phil. Bills 4-0. Patriots 2-1. Oh no. The Jets 0-4. Wait, why haven't these guys played as many games as us? You can't find tire data? Oh! That's important. That's important because we need that. Is that not... COVID problems in the NFL, that's why? Oh. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna check on UB Learns because today we need this tire data file. I didn't put up the file. The Titans Patriots game got canceled from COVID. Okay, guys, go to UB Learns right now because I have to put up this file. And then if you're gonna to follow along, you have to download this file. Okay, I'm putting it up right now. Where are you? Okay. Okay, I just put it up. So where you're gonna find it is if you go to UB Learns, and then if you go to assignments, you're gonna see homework 5, and then you're gonna see this tire data mat file. So you gotta grab this right now. Grab it. Don't delay. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. The Bills are... Now, okay, let me ask you this, though. Because wasn't it like 1 or 2 seasons ago, the Bills also started really well, and then it fell apart? So what my question is Is that gonna happen again, or is it really different this time? Okay? That's my question. Watch it, says Ben. Watch it. Watch what you say. I'm not being critical. I'm asking, like, for those Bills fans, are you seeing something that's really different and magical this time around? Should we get on the hype train? Where's the file? Isn't it? Do you not see the file? 2 seasons ago, the defense carried a garbage offense. This season, we got a top 5 offense. Oh, that's awesome. You guys can see this file, right? It's here now. Tiredata.mat. Okay, you got it? You got it? Okay, cool, cool, cool. So download that. Download that. Open up MATLAB on your computer. Okay, Jen has got it. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Open it up. So, this is relevant to homework 5. This tire data. Wait, maybe I can show you. If we pull up a video real fast, tire testing machine. This is what. This is the type of test that the data is from. So what they're doing, I'm going to turn down the music. There's this belt that goes underneath the tire, and so that simulates the tire like rolling. So the tire has a certain pressure, and here at the hub, they have force and moment sensors. Okay, now this is important. What they're doing right now is they're changing the slip angle of the tire. When it rotates left or right and it turns, that's changing the slip angle. And as we rotate the tire, we measure the lateral force at the hub. We measure the self-aligning moment, all of this stuff. So when we're analyzing this data today, remember it's coming from a test just like this. The tire's going through different patterns, and we're getting the sensor data, the forces and the moments in here. Okay, so let's go back to MATLAB. Okay, so the first step here, if you have that file ready, open a new MATLAB editor window, and you need to load this tire data. And this is the way I like to do it. I like to load it right from the MATLAB file itself. Now, in order to do this though, you have to put this file in the same folder as this MATLAB file. So like, I already saved this M file right here. I called it tiredatatutorial.m or something. And then this needs to be in the same folder. Oh wait, I might not have it in the same folder right now. Let me make sure that I did that. Notes. Tire data, okay. I gotta find this thing. Okay, so all of you should be saving your MAT file right now, and you should make sure that just got on. Where's the file? The file's on UB Learns. If you go to homework number 5. Okay, so you can see, like, this is my directory. I put it in the same folder as all my notes, but this is my M file. Oh, it can read from other folders for your oh yeah, that's great. You can get really fancy. Well, it's not that fancy, but that's a really good point. Thank you, Fly Little. But I have my tire data and this new im file that I'm making in the same folder. So that's the way I tend to do it. Okay. Now, when you load this data, let's just run this. So I'm running this, and then if I go to my, well, let's clear this screen. Oops. What did I call this? So I called this data. So if I type data, you see it's a structure. And you might not have seen this in MATLAB before. But a structure is kind of just another way of storing data. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different pieces of data in here, and they're all these column vectors. And so this ET, this is the elapsed time. So this is just how much time has passed in the experiment as I run this tire through these different paces. V is the velocity of the tire, like the translational velocity that it's heading depending on the belt speed. This is the slip angle, inclination angle, loaded radius, the tire pressure, lateral force, normal force. What is this one? I think this is the turning moment, which we didn't really talk about, but this one is the self-aligning moment, MZ, so we did talk about that. So all of this data is being picked up by sensors as we run through this tire test. So what I want to do is I'm going to extract some of these columns from that data structure, and this is the way you do it. So let's say I want that time vector. Actually, we'll call it the same variable that they use. So to grab it out of the data, I have to go data dot et. So this is the time vector, and the units are seconds. So this dot, this is how you access data from a structure. Like here's the structure, and then dot the variable that I want to pull out. So let's just do that with all of these variables. Like this is the first thing I would do. So this is slip angle, and in this file it's in degrees. Let's get the lateral force, Fy, lateral force, and in this data file it's in newtons. So all the information about the units, that's on the homework file as well. So you'll be able to see what these are. Data.fz, normal load on tire, that's in newtons. V, velocity. Now, in this file, it's in kilometers per hour. So I'm gonna make like a new variable because I like miles per hour better. So I'm gonna take this. I think I have to, this is the conversion, 621,371. Who wants kilometers per hour? Not me. Velocity. So this is also, I think, good practice for your code, because especially in this class, it's important to keep track of the units, you know. Hank, you like kilometers per hour? You're a misguided individual. So yeah, I like to say like, this is what it means. These are my units. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So this is the inclination angle in degrees. So inclination is just if the tire is kind of my car is kilometers per hour when I get pulled over. I say honestly, what? Actually, I have a funny story about that, but I can't tell it right now. Maybe later if you remind me. But yeah, usually a tire's, you know, upright, and then it turns about like a vertical axis basically. An inclination angle is if you like camber the tire. And that's rare, but you might see some cars where it looks like their rear tires are like tilted in a little bit. That's the inclination angle. Okay, tire pressure. So this is tire pressure. They can change the tire pressure during this test. They have like a nozzle going. And this is in kilopascals. So I'm going to convert this to PSI. So I'm going to take that data, and here's the conversion. So this is the tire pressure in PSI. Okay, and we'll leave it at this for now. When you do your homework, I don't think I loaded in the self-aligning moment and whatever, but this shows you how you can load in that data. Now, this is the very first thing I want you to do, so you get an idea of what happens in this test. Plot all of this stuff as a function of time. So the stuff I want to plot, let's do slip angle. And I'm going to plot this with dots. And you'll see why in a second. I don't want to connect everything with lines. So I'm going to plot a bunch of variables versus time. Let's do the velocity versus time. So I have slip angle, velocity. I want to do inclination angle. And this will give you an idea of all the different tests that they did with this tire. Oh, wait, I want this pressure in PSI. I want this velocity in miles per hour, so I'm going to plot that one instead. Okay, so I'm plotting all of these with dots. And I also want to do the normal load. Let's do that. Okay. I'm going to turn on a grid. That's what I usually like to do. We'll label the x-axis. This is time in seconds. I think this test went over a period of maybe 10 minutes or something. People from Taiwan like kilometers per hour. LOL, says Lewis. I know, I'm sorry. It means nothing to me. I just don't have that intuition. I know it's like 2/3 of what the miles per hour is, something like that. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, and your code should run if you have that tire mat file in the same folder as your code. Okay, so you should be getting a plot like this at some point. And this is why I didn't connect things with lines, because if you did, this plot would make a whole lot less sense. Oh wait, we need a legend though. 100 kilometer. Oh, 100 miles per hour. Okay, good. Okay, so let's make a legend so we can distinguish between these. So we got the slip angle. We got the velocity. Because otherwise we're gonna have no idea what these different things are. Inclination angle, tire pressure, and the last one was normal load. So you just populate this legend in the same order that you plotted that stuff. So now this should be good. So I'm going to just select this. I'm going to go to evaluate selection. And now I should have a beautiful legend on here. And I do. Okay. Make this a little bigger. Okay, and let's, you can see a bunch of data is kind of jammed up here, and this data in green is the normal load of the tire, and that has kind of vastly different units than the rest of this stuff. So I'm actually going to zoom in on this top data, and let's not even zoom in on all of it. And this is a little easier to see. So if you actually, let's even zoom in a little bit more. You can see that this tire test is actually made up of a bunch of like sub tests. And in between these tests, there's like 10 seconds or maybe 15 seconds of time where they're resetting the machine for another test. So let's look at this test like right here. This thing up here, this is the velocity in miles per hour. So they're running this tire for this test at 25 miles per hour. That's what that means. And here, this purple is the tire pressure. So this test is 8 PSI. here in yellow, that's the inclination angle. So the tire has no camber right now. But look at this. This blue is the slip angle. And so first the tire is going straight, and then they go to like a 12.5-degree slip angle, and then they pan the tire back the other way, and then they go back to center. So now you can visualize this tire test. There's like a certain pressure, and they rotate the tire back and forth, and they're measuring all this stuff. And then down here, so for that same test, this is the normal load on the tire. I know these points are kind of faint, but basically they're putting 1,100 newtons of load on this tire as they're turning it around. Okay? So when you look at all this data, the way you should interpret this is there's like, I don't know how many of these things there are, but it's like 20 or 25 little tire tests that they do at different pressures, normal loads, velocities, and then they measure how the tire responds. And it's tricky because the tire is wearing as this experiment goes on. So if you talk to a tire test engineer, that's something they have to worry about, that the performance of the tire can change depending on the paces you put it through. Okay, now, what do we want to get out of this tire data? Well, on the homework, I asked you to get, among other things, the friction coefficient. This went for a 30-minute test. Wait, how? This is how many seconds? I don't know. Somebody calculate that. That's like, it's like 1,500 seconds. So I divide that by 60, right? 25. Yeah, this is like 25 minutes that they're like putting this tire. Yeah, they're running a bunch of different tests. Okay, one of the things you need to calculate is the cornering stiffness of the tire at different normal loads. Yeah, dang, that tire will wear down. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. Like, the tire properties are changing. So how do we get cornering stiffness? What is cornering stiffness? Cornering stiffness is how much lateral force a tire produces per slip angle. So like when you turn a tire and you create a slip angle, that produces the lateral force that makes your car turn. So the cornering stiffness is like how much lateral force you actually make per turn of that tire. So, and it changes as a function of normal load. So let's do this first. Let's make a figure. And let's plot slip angle on the horizontal axis. And then we're going to plot lateral force. And let's do this with dots once again. So X label, this is slip angle. So the horizontal axis is going to be slip angle. The vertical axis is going to be lateral force in newtons. All right, I'm going to run this. Okay. Now this looks like a figure, kind of what we've seen in class, where you can see that as the slip angle gets bigger, whether I'm turning left or right, the lateral force increases up to a point, and then beyond, it looks like beyond like 6 degrees of slip, you start to lose some lateral force. And that's because the tire actually starts to lose grip out there. Okay, but there's a problem here. And the problem is that I'm plotting all of the data over this whole 25 minutes, all of the slip angles that were gathered versus all of the lateral force. But remember, all of this data was gathered under many different test conditions. So I'm getting data in here for different inclination angles, different normal loads, different tire velocities. And that's why it looks like there's a bunch of different trends here. So I can't get cornering stiffness from this alone, because which slope do I take? This like kind of shallow one or this big vertical one? And so this is where some of the data analysis in MATLAB skills are going to come in, because we're going to want to pull out data from specific test conditions and separate it from this huge data file. Okay. Okay, so here are some conditions that we're going to test today. Okay, so I want data that meets these conditions. So number one, I want an inclination angle of like 0 degrees. So I don't want to look at a tire with any camber. I want to look at tire data that was taken at 25 miles per hour. And I'm not just like pulling these numbers out of a hat. Like when you look at this data, you're going to see that they only tested a couple different conditions. Like I think they did 25 miles per hour, and they also did 45 miles per hour. They did an inclination angle of 0, and then I think like 2 degrees and maybe 4 degrees. So it's not like I can just pick any number. There's only a certain number of tests they did. Okay. And then I want tire pressure at 8 psi. For all 25 minutes, they only did an 8 psi test as well as a 12 psi test. So this is going to be our first task that I want to show you how to do this in MATLAB. I want to pull out the data that meets these 3 conditions. Okay, even before we do it with the code, let's pull back up this figure where we plotted all of the data. And let's first find the data that corresponds to an inclination angle of 0 degrees. Doing this by eye will show you what MATLAB does as well. It'll make it more clear. Okay, so the inclination angle, it's in yellow, and that's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to zoom in here. So this is over the whole 25 minutes. Okay, you can see it here. So like the first round of like 6 tests they did was at 0 degrees inclination. This one was at 2. This one was at 4. These were at 0 again. This was at 2, and these are back at 0. So the data that satisfies 0 inclination angle, it happens over here. Like these 6 tests satisfy it, these 6, and then like these last 12 or something. So I'm going to rule out this data and that data, okay? So that's our first condition. It satisfies this. Okay, now let's look for data that's at 25 miles per hour. So let's zoom out here. And then zoom back in. I think this like red line, yeah, this is the velocity, this red line. So you got like a 45 mile per hour. Oh, maybe this one's like 15 miles per hour. Okay, but only this data over here is 25 miles per hour. So now you see that we're narrowing things down, because now I have 0 inclination here and 25 miles per hour. So this set of data satisfies those 2 conditions, and also this set of data. Like these 6 tests or whatever is in here. Okay, the third condition is 8 psi. And the pressure is here in purple. And you see that only this portion of data is at 8 psi. Like over here it's at 12. So just visually, by looking at this graph, it turns out that the only tests that meet the 3 conditions are these like 6 tests that happened over here. And you notice these all look identical. They got 8 psi, 25 miles per hour, 0 inclination, and then they go through, you know, minus and plus 12 slip. So what's different between these 6 tests? We got to zoom out. So we got the first 6. And you'll see this green data down here. This is normal load. So the only thing that changed between these tests is how much force they put down on the tire. So like they did 1100, close to 1400, something like 600, 200. So that's what's different between these, the normal load. Okay. So how do we get MATLAB to pull out that data? I know that I want this data. How do I tell MATLAB to give me that? We're going to use the find command. This is a beautiful command. I didn't learn about it until a couple years ago, and now I use it all the time. Anytime you're analyzing a big set of data. Okay, so maybe I'll just write a note here. The find command gives you the locations of data that meet certain conditions. The find command gives you the locations of data that meet certain conditions. So what does the location of the data mean in terms of MATLAB? Well, it means the indices in the vector. Like that's how you locate something in a vector, where the index is. So I'm going to say subset indices. So these indices are a subset of the data that are going to meet these conditions that I give. Okay. And this is how the find command works. You say find, and then you enumerate a bunch of conditions in here. So I want an inclination angle of 0 degrees, right? Okay, but you don't want to do what I just did. So if I say, oh, I want an inclination that equals, and actually I wonder if you have to do the double equals for the logic. Because this is real life data, the inclination angle is never going to precisely equal, oh wait, that wouldn't make sense anyways. The inclination angle is never precisely going to equal 0. If you look in on the data, okay, we got to zoom in on like this test. You're going to see the inclination angle looks like it's 0, but it's actually like minus 0.04 or something. And it's always changing because the machine is maybe chattering a little bit. So what you have to do to actually grab this data is you have to define some ranges. So really, I'm looking for data that falls within a certain bound. So if I pick an inclination angle that's like greater than minus 0.1 and less than 0.05, then I'll grab all of the data like in this window. Does that make sense? So I'm going to find, it has to be greater than minus 0.01 and, oh, whoops, and less than positive 0.01. Oh, wait. I should have done 0.1. 0.01 is too small. So for all of these variables, you're actually going to have to define windows. So let's do the velocity next. So I have to use my mile per hour variable that I made if I want to use mile per hour. But let's look at what window I should define. It's like these first 6 tests. And if I look in here, if I want to grab this data, I actually have to make a window that's like greater than 24. Let's just make it 24.9 and less than 25.2. So that'll grab all of this stuff. So greater than 24.9 and less than 25.2. And then the last one is the tire pressure. And so that's in purple. And so you can see, like, there's some control system that's trying to regulate the pressure at 8 psi during the test, but it's not perfect, you know. So let's say like greater than 7.5 and less than 9. Like that'll certainly grab this and exclude other pressures. Okay, greater than 7.5, less than 9. And this, I have to do the PSI because the other one was in kilopascals. 7.5. Maybe I'll go down to the next line so we can fit this. Okay. PSI, what did I say, like 8.2? No. Greater than 7.5, less than 9. Okay. So now this find command is automatically going to give me the indices of data from this whole data set that satisfy this. And so I'm going to prove it. Okay, let's do my velocity data at this test condition. That's going to be, let's be specific here. That's miles per hour. It's going to be my original velocity vector, but only evaluated at these locations. You see what I'm saying? It pulls out the locations that satisfy that. So we'll get the pressure that meets those conditions. Okay. Let's get the time where this is happening. Okay. All right. We're gonna do a couple more of these. Say test. Okay, I'm probably doing this the slowest way possible because I could like copy. So the returned value of the find command is the index. Yes. So yeah, it returns the indices. And then I evaluate the data at those indices, and it's guaranteed that it'll be the data that satisfies all of those things. All right, let's copy this. I think this will be faster. And then I'll just change these. Like I want FZ. I'm gonna eventually want my lateral force. FZ. I'm gonna want my inclination angle, I think. Okay, so this is returning a bunch of that data. And let me prove it. We're gonna make a cool little plot here. So I'm gonna copy this plot from up above where we plotted everything. So we're gonna plot all of that original data. But let's do hold on. And then let's plot the same data, but using these variables that are from the limited data set. And we're gonna superimpose the two. So I'm just putting test next to all of these. So it's the same plot. I'm just using these test variables, which are from a reduced data set. And I'm going to make all these dots red, so it'll be clear where this limited data set is. Boom. Boom. Okay, I think this will work. The legend will look a little weird, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to select all of this stuff, and hopefully when I run it, there won't be an error. Aha! Look at this. We have our old plot, and look. Remember, I marked everything in red that met my conditions, and you'll notice it's only the 6 tests that we identified. Wish I had the find command for my lab last semester. I know. The find command, it's so beautiful. So look, we've extracted all of that. Okay, but I want to take this a little further, because in the homework, if you hit Control plus Enter, it runs the section you're currently in. Oh, thank you, Plammer. There's always more MATLAB to learn. I appreciate that. I'll use that. Okay, in the homework, I ask you to get the cornering stiffness and friction coefficient at a specific normal load. Or I ask you to do it for all of the normal loads that meet the conditions I give you. So what I mean is, I give you some conditions like we did here. And when you find those conditions, you're going to see that they're satisfied for a bunch of different normal loads. And so cornering stiffness and friction coefficient is going to be different for each of these normal loads. So you're going to have to go one at a time and investigate the different normal loads. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then actually it looks like they ran the same normal load twice. For that one, and then they have a different one. So what I want to do here, I want to limit my selection even further based on the normal load. And I want to select this normal load where they kind of hit it twice. So I'm going to pick another range. I'm going to say, I'm going to reduce my subset even further so that the normal load has to be greater than minus 1160 and less than minus 1020. And I'll probably forget that as I do this. Okay. So, and FZ greater than minus 1160. Is that what it was? Yep. And less than, and minus 1120. Okay, so now we know what this should do. Now if I run this again, and I'm going to use the Control Enter command that Plammer has showed us. Wait, what did I do? This doesn't look right. I know, that Control Enter is going to change my life. But wait, I only picked this. Oh! Because I did 1120 instead of 1020. Oh my goodness. 1020. We got to change that one. Now I'm going to Control Enter this again. Boom. Look at that. So now I've selected just those two sets of data, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so now I'm going to be able to calculate cornering stiffness for this specific load. Okay, and I'm realizing the clock says 11:04. Okay, I expect I'm going to run past that a little bit because I want to show you a couple more tools. So if you got to run, that's all right. But I think I'm going to finish this. I'm going to go a little bit over time, and if you miss this, you can come back to the video later and keep following along. So let's just keep going here then. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next session. We're going to calculate cornering stiffness on this limited data set. Cornering stiffness changes depending on the normal load. So, I mean, you're going to see that through this homework. So it's important to isolate out the different data. Okay, so now we're going to plot. I'm going to recycle this slip angle and lateral force. But we're going to plot on the limited data set. Let's do it. Oh wait, I'm gonna use Control Enter. Boom. Aha! Now you see we've pulled out just this subset. And it's a beautiful thing. Because compare this to what we had before. We had this, right? And we were like, this makes no sense. What do I do with this? And then by using the find command and specifying conditions, we pulled out, boom, just the data we wanted. You're going to use this all the time. It's going to change your family's life. Okay, so let's talk about cornering stiffness. Cornering stiffness is the slope. Like you can kind of see this linear region here. It's the slope in here, close to the origin. And you see the slope is negative, but we define the cornering stiffness as the negative of the slope. So the cornering stiffness will turn out to be a positive thing. So I want to show you how to find the slope of this. And it's really easy with a couple tricks. We're going to use the polyfit command. And first I'm going to do this the wrong way. I'm going to do this the wrong way first. Okay, so this is how the polyfit command works. Okay, so what you do, wait, I gotta go down here. So you polyfits the command, and what you do is you give the x-axis data, you give the y-axis data. I gotta capitalize this Y. I've learned more MATLAB in this class than the last three. Oh, I'm glad it's useful. This is some good stuff. Okay, and then you give the degree of the polynomial. So if I want to fit it with a line, I need a first order polynomial. If I want to fit it with a quadratic function, then I need a second order. But we're just getting a line. We want the slope. So x-axis, y-axis, first degree polynomial. And what this is going to return is, well, it's going to give you a polynomial. And let me show you how this works. So a polynomial in MATLAB, let's just do this really quick. I'm just going to run this. Okay, so my poly, it gives back two numbers. So what do I do with this? The first number is the coefficient for the highest order term in your polynomial. Okay, what does that mean? So a first order polynomial is like a line. So it's got something times, usually we call it like mx plus b. Like you got the something multiplying the x term and then just a constant. So here we go. So the slope is the first one. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And the y-intercept is the second term. And if I want to plot this fit on my data, because I suggest you always do this to see if it works. I hope it helps me land a good job. Well, no, I'm telling you, this kind of stuff you would use all the time, so it's good. Okay, my linear fit. I'm gonna say it's the slope times, you know, the x, the horizontal variable. So like this is our like x-axis, the slip angle. And then you do plus the y-intercept. And what I want to do is I want to superimpose this linear fit on my data. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to take my x, and then I'm going to plot it against my linear fit, and I'm going to use a red line. Okay, so we returned a polynomial for a linear fit of the data, and then this makes a line from our fit. So slope times x plus b. Okay, and then I'm plotting that. And this is what we're going to get. Let's run this. What is the problem here? What's the problem? And how do I solve it? It's doing the whole data range. We suck at no, we're good at MATLAB. Okay, Tim and Ben are correct. Right, and Chin is correct. We fit with a line this whole set of data, and you'll see if I'm trying to fit this whole squiggle. Yeah, Rick, we want the slope at the inflection point. This is a good fit of the whole like squiggly thing, but I only want to fit the linear region. This is where the find command shows its worth once again. This is why it's the best command ever, because here we go. I'm gonna say linear indices for that like inflection point area. I'm gonna find, here we go. And I even tell you in the homework, I want you to use slip angles that are between -2 and 2. So how do I find this linear region? Well, you could define it as, it's kind of arbitrary, but you could say it's between -2 and 2 degrees. And that's basically a pretty good, truncation here. But if you go out to slip angles of like 15 degrees, then it's definitely not linear. So okay, we're gonna find such that my limited, look at, I'm using the limited set already, like at a specific normal load. So it's gonna be greater than -2 and less than +2. Okay, so that's going to find me indices relative to these variables that meet that specification. It's kind of like Inception. It's a subset within a subset. Okay, so we're going to call this like SA test linear. It's going to be SA test evaluated at these new indices. And FY test linear is going to be FY test also evaluated at the linear indices. And just to show you that, like, we could do, so we'll just do this real quick. We're already going over time, but we're just gonna drive it home. Linear. Let's make this red. All right, so you'll see this. Boom. I used find again, and now I just have this data right here. And when I do a linear fit of this data, it's just going to be pure gold. So I have to do a polyfit of that subset of data. And now this polynomial is going to change. Obviously. This I can leave the same. Okay, let's run this. Aha! Let's zoom in there real good. Look at that. Now, if I want the cornering stiffness, so the symbol for cornering stiffness, we call it C sub alpha. And you got to be careful with your variables here, because this is at a specific normal load. So you're going to be doing this at a bunch of different points. I'm just showing you for one. But this is going to be the negative of the slope. And the units of this, because my force was in newtons and my slip angle was in degrees. So right here, this would be in newtons per degree. So let's calculate that. And you'll see that that number is 865.6 newtons per degree at this specific normal load, and etc., etc. So this is how you get cornering stiffness that meets for a specific set of data. Okay, the last thing I want to show you, this will just take maybe 5 minutes because this is easier to do. So that's how you do cornering stiffness. Now we want to get the friction coefficient. Getting the friction coefficient at this normal load. Remember the definition of the friction coefficient. Maybe I'll like write it in quotes here. It's like mu is absolute value of maximum lateral force divided by absolute value of the normal load. Okay. That's how we define the lateral friction coefficient for a specific normal load. So this friction coefficient, you're going to see it changes as you put more or less weight on the tire. But let's go back in here. The maximum lateral force. Well, there's two sides. Like you could pick this like negative one down here. Can you absolute only mu and not the two parts? Oh, you mean like, okay, absolute value of mu. I think in certain cases you could find yourself getting a negative mu if you don't take the absolute value of both, because the normal load is negative, right? The normal load will always be negative, defined by the SAE coordinate system. So this number, normal load, that's always going to be negative on the tire. But then depending on no, you will absolute mu after. Oh, okay, okay. No, yeah, you're right. You could do that. You could do that. You could just calculate whatever it is, and then you could say mu is the absolute value of that whole thing. No, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Now here's the thing about like real life data. There's some like noise in here, and if I say I want to pick the maximum load, like how do I know that this number way up here is probably the max? But how do I know that wasn't just like a noisy data point? So probably what we would do in practice is we would do a fit of this line. And there's different formulas you can use. The most popular one is called the magic tire formula. I know it's got magic in there, but in our case, I think it'll be fine if we just literally pick the maximum value and just realize that there's some inherent error in that. So let's say mu. You could say the minimum of FY, what do we call it? FY test. And notice I'm not taking the linear region at this point because this maximum is outside of that linear region. So I'm not adding the linear here. So I take that, I divide by the normal load, but what we should do, if you look at the normal load for this set of data, like what would you say the normal load is? Because it's kind of over a spread. So what I would do is I would take the mean value. I would take the mean value of this and call that the normal load. So here's the maximum lateral force. And then I can take the mean of FZ, what did I call it? FZ test. And then I'm going to take your suggestion, OX reself. I'm just going to do the abs of the whole thing. Let's run it. Boom. Oh wait, I got an error. Undefined function FY. Okay, so I got to be careful with my capitalization here. I'm going to use control enter again. Okay, so I reevaluated it. Wait, what happened here? Okay, so we get a friction coefficient of 2.67. And this is going to change depending on what normal load you choose. Okay. Guys, I think we did it. I think that's what I wanted to show you. This is how you grab the data. This is how you partition the data into subsets. And then this is how you do linear fits of partitions of the partitions. And then how you can get a decent estimate of the friction coefficient, but it's got some weaknesses, like I said. If I just use this formula blindly without considering the noise, it's not the best. And guys, that's it. Am I gonna post this code? No, I won't. Because I want you to go through this. I want you to follow along and see my explanations for it. And yeah, that's it, guys. So this homework's due Monday, but I would do it early because with MATLAB you can always run into something tricky that takes more time than you think. But I hope with this tutorial it'll be a little more easy to digest, and that's all we're doing. MATLAB makes me cry. Why? How come min FY instead of max? Okay, good question. So when I do min, what point is that gonna find? That's gonna find like a minimum value over here. If I did max instead, I would find a value over here. And so both of these, like this one's close to minus 3,000, that one's close to positive 3,000. So because I'm doing the absolute value of everything, it shouldn't really matter which one I test. Assuming it's symmetrical on either side, which can't. Big Shack says, can't believe it's taken me this long to find the tire data analysis side of Twitch. I mean, yeah, there's this really popular subculture. I don't know if you're aware. Hash Brown says, I always run into the stupidest problems on MATLAB. Hey, we all do. We all do. You never get past that. Could you do max of the absolute value of FY? You could do that, but that's going to find the biggest value from both sides. which is okay. That's okay. Varinder says, quick question. I see the groups for undergrad students, but there's no project assigned yet. Am I right? Yeah, that's right. I didn't assign the project yet. I'm going to assign it either at the end of this week or during the weekend. And, but I wanted you to know your groups in advance so that you guys can like establish contact before I even post it. Lewis says, can I ask a stupid question? Hey, there's very few stupid questions. Thank you, Lewis. Is that normal load? Cause force cause normal load. I think I misunderstood. Okay. Normal load is like normal force. So like when I press my hands against each other, they exert a like a normal force on on each other that's perpendicular to the surface. And so the normal load on the tire is if I press the tire into the ground, the normal force is the force that's pressing up against the tire that prevents the tire from just like going into the ground. And that's a negative force because in SAE, positive Z goes into the pavement. Because the normal force goes out of the pavement up, that's a negative direction. Big Shack, I've just joined the stream. Can someone get me up to speed on the gist? Okay, so this is a road vehicle dynamics course at the University at Buffalo. So we're in Buffalo, New York. This is like a senior, like graduate level course as well. So we have some undergraduate students and graduate students, and we're studying cars. And you are very welcome to join us at any point. Foreign Wanderer says, Professor, you don't understand how bad I am in MATLAB. Look, you gotta start somewhere. Everybody's bad at the beginning. You have to accept. This is a wise statement that I heard. You have to endure being bad at something in order to be good at that something. You know? You start playing an instrument, it's gonna sound terrible, and you just have to accept that. And then you'll get better. Same with MATLAB. You have to be like, I am bad. And that's okay. You keep practicing, you get better. Anyone from FSAE? We used to have Formula SAE at UB. I hope we bring it back eventually. I hope we bring it back. I have to relearn MATLAB every semester. If you're consistently using it, then it sticks. I hear you. Anything that you're not using a lot. Jenna says, we're all crying this semester. It's okay. Yeah. I think it's good to remember that everybody is struggling, if they're honest. I think it's very rare for somebody at this point in the semester to not be having a hard time. So just keep going ahead. Know that it is tough and it's okay to be struggling. Big Shack says, I'm currently studying mechanical engineering in Western Australia, and you're a part of the FSAE team, so I'm super keen to learn more about vehicle dynamics. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Maybe you could send us some stuff about your FSAE team, like send us pictures of your car, like let us know how it's going. Formula Q1, inspirational MATLAB talks are what's needed. Yeah, I hear you, Hank. The semester always gets tough, but when you look back, you're like, you know what? It wasn't always pretty, but we made it through. And that's okay. Sometimes it's just okay to stumble through. And Jenna says this is my favorite class. Thank you, Jenna. I'm so glad you enjoy it. I really enjoy doing this class with you guys. It really is a privilege and a pleasure. I appreciate you guys and all the hard work you do. What's an RB26? I feel like what is this? Hey, have an awesome day, Chimney Stacks. The content we get here. You're welcome, Foreign Wanderer. My pleasure. A straight 6 4-stroke gasoline engine from Nissan from 1985 to 2004. Oh. Continuing in production after a 15-year hiatus. Curtin Motorsport Team. Curtin Motorsport Team. Whoa. Look at this thing. Guys, we really need to bring this back to UB. And then we're going to go to Western Australia. And we're going to compete with you guys. Oh, by the way, the tire that we were analyzing today is a Formula SAE tire. So if you guys are wondering like what that tire looks like, we're looking at like a little tire. Something like this. Is this carbon fiber? Look at that thing. That's beautiful. What is this? Is this like your school logo? What is this thing? Is that a swan? What is that? The Western Australian emblem. Oh, cool. Look at that. And look at that. Look at how the road really ate up this tire. But that's what you're going for, right? Like it gets into the pavement, creates all that friction force. Oh, let's watch the video. Do you guys have music? Oh my goodness, what is this thing? I'm gonna pause this music. Oh, I'm getting a call. Okay, I can't take this right now. I gotta watch this thing. Oh shoot, I'm late for that meeting. I'm supposed to be at that meeting. Okay, we're gonna watch this, and then I gotta go to that meeting. Wait, okay, I'm gonna respond. I need to respond to him. Okay. All right. Our car park munches through tires. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, let's go back here. So I want to watch this. I know. I'm gonna get in trouble. I just want to watch this really bad. Look at this. Hey, have a great day, everybody. Still Dre. Hey, man, West Coast, best coast, right? You made those anti-roll bars? Oh, nice. Oh, that's so fun. Okay. Okay. Dude. Hey, cheers. All right, everybody. I gotta run. I should have been in a meeting 5 minutes ago. Have a great Monday. Bye, Jenna. I'll leave the stream, or I think you guys can still chat even when I end the stream. So connect. Get us some connections so we can build a formula team. Hey, see you guys. Have a fantastic Monday.